All right, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and inshallah, we are continuing. These books are available. Inshallah, I will be resending these books so that we would be aware of what we were doing. And we said that Tawheed, so just to revise, we said that in Islam, what Tawheed involves is really three different things. So we're just taking it one after another. We said when we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it involves three different segments about understanding who Allah Almighty is and what we believe about Allah Almighty. So we said it's number one, it's related to knowing the essence of the Lord Almighty. And that actually involves in believing in two things about Allah Almighty, about one, about his names and in other words, the description of the Lord Almighty, and of course about the actions of the Lord Almighty and what he does. And three, we said that it involves also in your relationship with the Lord Almighty. And we said the relationship actually means the way you worship the Lord Almighty, because the word worship is a lot more comprehensive than the word ritual, because it involves two different areas. It involves ritual and it also involves legislature. And we said what we mean by legislature, in other words, your understanding of justice, morality, all these different areas, and how you relate in this life or on this earth with the Lord Almighty. And then we also said, related in relationship with the essence, we said that it also involves in believing. In other words, it's a spiritual connection, the spiritual connection between you and the Lord Almighty in how you relate yourself with the names and attributes. In other words, al-asma wa sifat. So therefore, the names and attributes of the Lord Almighty, that you would recognize the Lord Almighty as one, and two, you are connecting yourself with the Lord Almighty with these names and attributes, and not letting the names and attributes be shared to anyone. And you're not relating these names and attributes with anyone or anything, to be sharing these names and attributes with the Lord Almighty, and they're exclusive to Allah Almighty alone. So the part that we are in right now is really the second segment, which is the part about worship. So we're just going to erase this one right there in order to connect with the part about worship. And we said that worship is a lot more comprehensive, but in order to put in worship, there needs to be three different elements for worship in order, the pillars of worship, let's say it that way. In other words, the way you evolve around your relationship with the Lord Almighty, it actually evolves around three different elements. One is love. And we talked about love, and we just said some things about love. We just started talking about love, and then all of a sudden, we basically got caught up in time. The second thing is fear. And the third one is hope. So for the connection between us and the Lord Almighty, there's love, fear, and hope in the relationship. And we started talking about why even love and fear? Are they contradictory or not? Is fear and hope contradictory? If you fear something, why would you even run to it? How does that even reconcile with our love for the Lord Almighty? So that's exactly what we're talking about today, and which is why, inshallah, we're going to be continuing what we were doing last time. So I hope the people on hold on, let me actually do it that way. Okay. All right. So when we're speaking about love, it's really important to mention that when we speak about love, that it's basically how you recognize the essence of the Lord Almighty. Remember, so even when you talk about worship, you're going again for the same three categories: essence, worship, and the names and attributes of the Lord Almighty. You're going the same categories. You're doing it again and again and again. It's like a pattern. Are you guys understanding me? Should I do it again? Okay, do it again. Okay. So for example, remember, what is Tawheed all about? We said about one, believing in the essence of the Lord Almighty. He exists. 2, it's about your connection with the Lord Almighty. 3, it's about how you connect with the Lord Almighty with who he is and what he is, which is basically by knowing the names and attributes of the Lord Almighty. So even when we talk about worship, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say love, fear, and hope. Okay. So when I want to talk about love, I'm going to use the same 3 things again. Love, again, essence, worship, and the names and attributes. So what does that mean? I'm going to go again to loving the essence of the Lord Almighty for what he is and who he is. He is the creator. He is the one that brought me life. He's the one that's given me all the good things that I have. He's the one that contains all that contains and actually gives all the good things that surround me. And then worship, in where I love the Lord Almighty, so I connect myself by worshiping the Lord Almighty. And then finally, when we're talking about the names and attributes, how can I grow in my love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I will basically connect my love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by recognizing how I could see the names and attributes of the Lord Almighty in the world around me. So I'm going to erase this one. Okay. I'm going to erase this one so you could actually go in that explanation right there. So how do I actually, again, it's those 3 categories. Okay. So how do I actually get the love of the Lord Almighty? Love for Allah Almighty is actually the core of faith. Love for the Lord Almighty is actually where faith starts from. How do I actually recognize that? And what does that actually mean? Not only loving Allah, but it actually goes in different categories. When you love Allah, you love what Allah wants. When you love Allah, you will love those that love Allah because you know that those are the people that are connected with Allah Almighty. Let's look at, for example, in our modern times, celebrities. You will find celebrities right now, there's a certain trend and they'll do a certain trend, and whoever mimics the celebrity the best gets to basically be considered the top trend, or at least the famous one, or the one to get most people's attraction and focus. Why? Because so Jenna, you guys want to go into the other room? Oh, are there? Okay. Go into my room. So when you would, compare in how, when we're speaking about love, see how people, when they relate themselves to one particular thing, how they will start mimicking, behaving in a certain way, and not only behaving, but even their spirituality and their focus is always focused in that area. So what does it mean? Loving the believers is part of actually loving Allah Almighty. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ. What happens? Those that love Allah Almighty will have a certain spiritual connection. This spiritual connection just brings in a certain attraction. But those that love dunya will actually have a certain connection, a different connection. It's all about money. It's all about trend. It's all about being attractive. It's all about just wanting to get into a certain type of adornment. But love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a different thing. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ. So what does that mean? You gotta be patient. Those that love Allah, you gotta be patient with them. Why? Because when you are sucked up by the love of dunya, you will find those that love Allah Almighty as boring. You will find those that love Allah Almighty as weird. Weird? How does that, and where on earth? And why would we find them weird? Because the Prophet ﷺ, look at this, you guys. Hey, Jennifer,
I missed you. Wait, come over here. I tried contacting you for a long time.
Oh, you got my new number?
No, I don't. Well, that's the thing. And then you didn't give me your old number. I only had your old number. Thought you disappeared.
No, I'm still.
Okay, I'm so happy to see you. So happy to see you. So happy to see you.
All right. I'm so sorry, you guys. It's been almost a year or so since you guys, that lady is a cook. She's a chef. This is real. This is real. So you guys, you need great recipes, you go to her. Okay, let's go for real love. All right. You guys, you can tell I love food. All right. So when you actually look at the part about why did he say "wasbir nafsaka ma'a alladhina yad'una rabbahum," it's basically like I said, the people that love Allah Almighty to someone that loves dunya, they will also appear strange. Why strange? Look at this, you guys, pay attention to this one. The Prophet ﷺ actually said, "Bada al-Islamu ghariban wa sayaudu ghariba." Islam started out in a strange way, and it will come back in a strange way. And then in an addition, it's not part of the hadith, but an addition from a Sahabi, he said, "Fatuba lil ghuraba." So lucky for the strangers or the weirdos. Somebody's calling you a weirdo. You know what? That's your first logo. You know how they actually put those, they put these marks or whatever on the soldiers? That's your first, what do they call that? I don't know. It's part of the badge. You know, when soldiers, they go up in ranks, for each rank, they would give them like a little medal or something. For every soldier, they would give them a medal for going up in a certain training. It's actually, so when the soldiers, they would have like on the sides of their shoulder, they would have these little colored things. Each one is supposed to be like a dart, a star, and each one is supposed to resemble a certain training that the person had passed. All right. So it's not just a beauty thing. No, it actually resembles a certain training, a certain level, a certain stage that the person had actually passed. And that's the same thing. You've got right there, it's a stage that you had passed in where they're actually telling you that you are weird. So when you do that, just to let you know that if you are on the other side, if you're blending in with everything, you got a problem. If you're blending in with the trend, you got a problem. Why? Because the only time when you blend in with everything is really when you don't have a border. Why is having a border even important? Because it actually shows you and lets you recognize that you have a molded identity. The second, when your identity is not molded, that would actually mean you are too fluid in connecting with everything and every trend and everyone that's around you. And it's really dangerous. It's really dangerous because everyone's deen actually got lost through that. They were fluid with everything that's around them, and then it's gone. It's gone. 3, fighting for the cause of the Lord Almighty. Activism. What does it mean? When you're active in school, when you're active at home, when you're active, we're always, the first thing that you are talking about, the first thing that is, what should I do within our community to let them know about Islam? What should I do for me to be growing in my Islam? What should I do in my relationship with the people around me to help them grow in their Islam? What do I need to do to grow myself in Islam? Well, not only memorize Quran, but also learn. Maybe I should get my friends. Hey, we've got this halaqah. Let's go and learn. Let's go and study more about Islam. Why? Because there's no way that you can mold yourself if you don't know what you want to mold yourself into. There's no way. You always have to have a blueprint. What are you trying to mold yourself into? if you don't have a blueprint of what you're trying to mold yourself into, then you're just going and letting others mold it for you. That's how it goes. If you're not molding yourself to a certain thing, a certain structure, you're letting others mold it for you. And that's a person that has no identity. That's the scariest thing during our modern times, is that the social media is actually molding the younger generation, especially. Why? So here's the thing, is that you got to know about yourself. So for example, if you don't know that you're diabetic and you would be eating different things that are actually making your diabetes high or too low, then in that situation, you're not going to be able to help yourself continue living. You're going to keep on fainting and you're like, I'm just fainting. And then you're going to faint again and again and again, unless you take your insulin. And unless you know that there's a certain diet that you have to follow. Why did I get into that? Well, knowing who you are is actually part of knowing that the society around you and how it affects you. Just like if you don't know you're a diabetic, you wouldn't know what foods you need to avoid. So the younger generation is different than the older generation. Not that they are necessarily finished with fitna, they've got their fitna. But since we're talking about molding, the younger you are, the easier you will be to get molded with the society around you. A 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, they will be a lot easier than a 13-year-old, right? That will be a lot easier. One will easily blend in. In fact, even their memory is different. For a 1-year-old, if mom goes away probably 6 days, well, maybe 7 days a week, he'll probably forget about her. A 5-year-old, no, he'll remember up to probably, maybe sometimes it can go up to forever remembering, depends on what we're talking about, but he will pretty much forget within maybe a couple months, a year maybe, but he might remember still. But a 13-year-old will remember farther and farther and so forth. Why did we relate memory with all of this? Well, the reason why we're relating memory is because usually when we're talking about a person and their own personality, it actually takes a number of different things. Memory, that's one side. Memory. Two, when we're speaking about memory, environment, what you expose yourself to. The environment actually has more effect on the younger generation than the older generation. The environment. What environment are we talking about? So in other words, a baby is a lot more susceptible to getting viruses than somebody that's older. Then of course, the older they get, they will also become more susceptible the older they get. Three is the part about education. Believe it or not, the younger you are, you are actually higher in the level of your intelligence to absorbing information. This is not me saying, this is science. So somebody that is 13 years old can actually learn a lot faster than someone that is 40. And because they can learn a lot faster, they can absorb a lot of different informations that surround them. And that's why for somebody that is younger, it's a lot easier for them to memorize the Quran than somebody that's older. Their brain is easily absorbing things. And which is why, just like we talked about the diabetic,
You got to know about yourself. You got to know about yourself, this information, in order to mold yourself to the right areas. Because without you recognizing this about yourself, you are going to be susceptible to actually taking an education, which you might actually thought an education, and then you might need to unlearn so much to discover later on that you were actually learning the wrong piece of information. Memory. That's why if you actually look, for example, the younger generation tends to actually enjoy music a lot more than the older generation. Why? Because the memory piece of it, it basically gets pacified and it continues when the younger generation, they'll memory. Why is memory related to anything at all? So when you're speaking about memory, it has a lot to do with memory and education. Both actually have a lot to do with how the environment actually rubs on you, because what you remember and what you learn, those two are actually making together a whole dynamic of what you recognize about the world around you, and later how that creates a dynamic within you, a dynamic of understanding, and of course, a dynamic of what you are and who you are. Are you guys with me here? How many people got lost? Nobody got lost? Okay. Oh, Lujain and Hamza, that's okay. You'll learn it later, inshallah. That's okay. You're still in that age. But I love your clothes, Lujain. Very beautiful. All right. Now, when we speak about these three things, so now you know more about yourself. Now, what do I need to do with this information? One, when you want to learn, make sure you're putting yourself in the right places to learn. That's why Ibn Rajab actually said the most important knowledge that you can do and learn is the knowledge that, one, what the knowledge that leads you to your Lord Almighty, because He is the essence. He is the Lord Almighty that actually existed before even your own creation. And therefore, what leads you to Allah Almighty is really what is the most important knowledge. It is the most important knowledge. Now, the second part, your knowledge about the Lord Almighty leads you to your knowledge about yourself. How is that possible? Well, you will not be able to know about yourself if you don't know where you even originated and what your history is. And you yourself, you're a lot more complex than the materialistic side of yourself. Your ruh, your soul, your life. Where am I heading? Why am I even existed? Why is this even created? Why is there even death? If you don't actually have those questions answered, you don't know about your purpose, then what you're going to end up in, creating your own purpose of life, which is called existentialism. You're going to start creating your own purpose. And if you create your own purpose, you're creating a mirage, because purpose preceded existence. Purpose, your purpose came before your existence. Your purpose, your essence preceded your existence. Not existence comes first and then you create an essence. And that's why for a believer, go back to that one. They want to be active, to love Allah Almighty. That's going to generate activism to getting close to the Lord Almighty. And that's why they won't fear to say the truth, regardless of the consequence. They wouldn't be afraid to hold on to their Islam, even if everyone thought they were weirdos. The other day, a couple of years back, I was walking in some store and a lady came to me and said, I just want to tell you that Halloween is over a long time ago. And I said, well, thanks for telling me. I guess I'll be prepared for all the rest of the year. Thank you so much. She thought she was going to shake me. I was like, oh, no, I'm embarrassed. It's like, did you actually think I was going to be embarrassed? That's the thing. At the end of the day, is that these comments don't shake you because you know that you are on a strong ground. You know that you're on strong ground. When somebody starts to make fun of your hijab or make fun of your Islam or make fun of your salah or make fun of the different rulings in Islam, to you, doesn't shake anything in you whatsoever, because you're actually grounded in your love for the sake of Allah Almighty, and you know that you're on a strong ground. Now, when you love someone, you seek their closeness. We know that, right? We've lived the romance before. Did we, Jasmine? Mm-hmm. Did we? Did I? Yeah. I'm still trying to think. Did I? Yeah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. You seek their closeness. So the Prophet ﷺ actually said, look at this, you guys. Even when duha, what are you saying? What are you commenting on? Allah is we'll talk with their best friend. She's talking about somebody. I'm just joking. All right. So when you love someone, you seek their closeness. She knew, because my husband's Tunisian. Those ladies are Tunisian. They're like, you know, these kind of moves. You know these kind of moves? And you're like, you guys, I grew up in North Minneapolis, so. It's okay. It's a thing that these ladies will understand. That's a trend back in the 80s. A trend back in the 80s, you guys. The 2000, you guys won't get it, but yeah, we'll get it. Yeah. When you love someone, you seek their closeness. So why did we actually say when you love someone, you seek their closeness? Well, it actually goes in two ways, by the way. When you love Allah Almighty, you will actually seek to be closer to Allah Almighty. But guess what? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, He also wants to be close to you. Allah wants to be close to me. Look at this hadith. I love it. The Prophet ﷺ actually says, from what he quoted on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he said, Man aada li waliyan faqad adhantuhu bil harb. Whoever is an enemy to any of my, al-wali is a saint. So whoever is being an enemy to one of the saints of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in other words, one of those that are closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be an enemy to them. And with every single thing that they are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they get close, for example, تقرب إلي عبدي بشيء أحب إلي مما افترضت عليه. You want to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? There's nothing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves more than what He obligated on you. But He's the one that obligated me to do it. So when He obligates you to do something and you actually obey Allah Almighty, that actually is the real love. So for example, let's look at romance. In the romance world, all right, if the girl, for example, loves a certain cake or something, a certain flower, And of course, her fiance, or let's say her husband brings her her favorite cake or her favorite flower. It feels the most precious. Why? Because you would know that he knows it about you, right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you good, pious husbands and loving husbands. Say Ameen. 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 All right? That's the same thing. Even if, for example, the most precious thing, if your mom were to give you a gift, if it's a gift that you don't really love, but if it's something that you've always wanted, and you're like, that's the most thing I want, and your mom brings it for you, puts it in a box, brings it for you, it feels the most precious because you would know that she knew who you are, right? That's what you had requested. And that's the real love. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ was talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he said that the most love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would want you to love him through is really when you actually do what the Lord Almighty orders you to do. And every single time you do anything to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would actually love you in return. Everything, not only Allah, but everything loves a believer. What does that mean? So the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith, he actually said, إذا أحب الله العبد نادى جبريل أن أحب فلانا فأحببه إن الله يحب فلانا فأحبب. Sorry. That the Prophet ﷺ said that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves somebody, he will call on to Jibreel, the archangel, and he would say, Jibreel, I love Samia. So Jibreel will love Samia. Jibreel, who's Jibreel? The angel Jibreel. And then Jibreel will love him or her. And then Jibreel will call on to all the angels in the heavens, and he will say, Allah Almighty loves Jasmine. Love her. So the angels in the heavens will love Jasmine. And everything in the heavens, in the skies, will actually love Jasmine. And then the people of the heavens, they will basically, the angels in the heavens will call on to the earth and say, Allah loves Jasmine. So love her, and everything will love Jasmine, or everything will love Yasmin or Samia. And that's the same thing. What happens is that يوضع له القبول في الأرض. What is القبول? That people will love them. And by the way, there's so many people, they will only, when you're actually living الحق, there's a difference between people that will hang out with you and people that will come to you when they are in need, because they know that you're going to be there to support them. And they will call you because they know that you are their place of power. So don't look at how many people you have around you. Look at who reaches out to you. And if people reach out to you, that's al-qabul fil ard. But wait a minute, what about the celebrities? They also have al-qabul fil ard, don't they? People are liking them. Well, here's one thing, is that people, you need to look at who is getting the qabul and what for. What is al-qabul? Al-qabul is embracement. And what for? So the embracement that this is talking about is the honor. Is the honor. And that's why you look at a lot of the celebrities that actually were considered the top celebrities. They would always complain of being lonely. Whitney Houston, she was, during our time especially, Michael Jackson, during our times, is considered the big shot. Before that, what is that? The king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. What is that lady, that blonde lady? What was her name? Marilyn Monroe? There you go. They were considered the big shot. But it's so weird that they're actually the most ones to feel the loneliness. The most thing that Michael Jackson was complaining of is the loneliness. Whitney Houston, I mean, that was, where money to them was just a number. There's no more. You can't sleep on more than one bed. It's just one. And even if you were to eat, give me the most expensive food. What is the most expensive food? Caviar? The most expensive food. Caviar. I wouldn't eat it, by the way. It looks disgusting. It's fish, and it really looks disgusting. It really looks disgusting. I'll pass. And I'll go for broccoli. Or potatoes. It really looks disgusting. You would rather try it? She'll try it, maybe with some harissa and stuff. Yeah, it'll probably work, get it spiced up. All right. So in order to be part of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, what does that actually mean that you will get? Look at this. The Prophet ﷺ, in another hadith, he said, "Man aada li waliyan faqad aadhantuhu bil harb." So remember, in the first category right there, in there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says the person will get acceptance in where there is something, that a power that embraces that person. That is loving Allah Almighty. The second one is that there is not only a power of love, but even the power of hate. What is power of hate? Let's look at the hadith. من عاد لي وليا فقد آذنته بالحرب. Whoever is an enemy to one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's saints, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be an enemy to him. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the one. Listen to this, you guys. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. If you're going through a struggle, know that Allah Almighty is the one that is going to be defending you. So what should I get busy with? You just get busy with connecting yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't get busy with defending yourself. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah Almighty is the one that's going to be protecting you. That's it. So what should I do? Work on your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why he said, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُهُ عَلَيْهِ. There's nothing more dear to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than getting closer to Allah Almighty with what Allah Almighty had actually obligated you to do. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for those that actually have different levels of how close they are, higher ranks of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's celebrities. Number one, there's the level of al-muqtasideen, ashab al-yamin. Now those different levels. What about them? That level in where they perform the obligations and abstain from haram. What is al-muqtasid? Al-muqtasid is doing the basics. The level of al-muqtasid. All right? And the level of السابقين المقربين. There's a higher level, السابقين المقربين. What is السابق? السابق is the one that races to everything. They race to everything. We've got a dars. They'll be there to be first. They'll be there to be the ones to announce it. They'll be there in the first row. We've got donations to be collected for this sister. She's going through some struggle. They'll be first to put the money. They'll be there to support first. And those are السابقين المقربين. They do more than religious obligations, and they actually go farther because they leave even farther than haram. So what is the impact of being one that Allah Almighty loves? What does that mean? فَإِذَا أَحْبَبْتُهُ كُنْتُ سَمْعَهُ الَّذِي يَسْمَعُ بِهِ وَبَصَرَهُ الَّذِي يُبْصِرُ بِهِ. So what does that mean? The Prophet ﷺ actually said, quoting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if I would love that person, I would become the hearing that they hear through, and the seeing that they see through, yarhamkumullah, and the seeing that they see through, and the leg that they walk with. It doesn't mean that Allah Almighty somehow goes into your body. No, that's not what it means. It's actually a different recognition. So what does that mean? That a true believer, when they love Allah Almighty, they will only hear what Allah Almighty wants them to hear. And a person that loves Allah Almighty, they will only see what Allah Almighty wants them to see. And they will only walk to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to walk to. And then what happens? And then even their hand, they will only touch and do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to. So what do they become? When you look at hand, eyes, legs, etc., that actually takes us to the second category, the environment. The environment. Remember when we talked about learning, then it takes us, memory, then it takes us to the environment. What environment do you put yourself into? Do you actually put yourself into an environment of entertainment? Or do you put yourself in an environment? I'm not talking about just school and where, yeah, we're together in school, etc. But outside of those hours too. What environment are you putting yourself into? What are you following on Instagram? What are you following? What on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is? What is the other place? TikTok, what was it called? TikTok. All right. What are you following on that? What are you actually doing on that? And of course, the trend starts to come in. The trend starts to come in without you recognizing. You follow Quran and their logarithms will actually sense that, oh, on Instagram, they were following Quran. It'll start to bring you Quran. And that's the same logarithm in where if you're actually constantly following Quran, you will see that your body is absorbing Quran. And that's the same thing in where the impact is actually chosen by you. You choose what path you want. You choose those paths, and those paths will lead you to Allah Almighty. It's not a word of claim, but it's actually an action that you decide. Hidayah won't come to you by itself. Don't expect Jibreel to come to you. I'm granting you Hidayah. You have to make the decision. There's no way. You have to make the decision. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. And those that put the effort in our cause, Allah Almighty will lead them to His paths, different doors that will lead them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not one, but different paths. And that's the same thing, but you have to take the effort. The effort is by you scrolling, what you're looking at, what you're hearing, where you're going. That is a decision that you make. So how do I know if I really love Allah? Number one, do you put Allah Almighty as your priority? So what does that look like? The Prophet ﷺ actually said, and look at this, Anas ibn Malik. Let me take you on a side. Who's Anas ibn Malik? Anas ibn Malik, his mother, his aunt, her father, basically all they're called haram family. Not haram police, haram family. Okay? Why haram family? Haram also means sacred. Okay? So when he became Muslim, when his mother became Muslim, his father abandoned him and ran away to Syria. So his mother started raising him on her own, him and along with Al-Bara. Al-Bara is his brother. Now, both of them, they were too young. Anas was so young, so his mother brings him to the Prophet ﷺ. So she's like, I'll bring him to the Prophet ﷺ. That way he can actually learn. He was only about 10 years old. Where was he growing it? He was actually helping the Prophet ﷺ. Helping the Prophet ﷺ at home. It's like, get me this, get me that, buy me this. Imagine being with the Prophet ﷺ, 10 years old, and just watching the Prophet ﷺ, and he's just telling you, and that's why Anas ibn Malik says, I saw the Prophet ﷺ. In other words, he used to see the wives of the Prophet ﷺ even without their hijab. He was really close to them. He was just a little boy. Imagine. So Al-Bara, Anas ibn Malik, I keep saying Bara. Anas ibn Malik, later the Prophet ﷺ makes a dua for him. To what? To have a long life and to have lots of grandchildren. Lots of grandchildren. He lived up to 110 years old. 110 years old. And he had over 140 grandchildren. That's Anas ibn Malik. He was with the Prophet ﷺ everywhere. He was everywhere. It's like he's just his assistant. So he said, look at, and why did I bring this up? Because he was teaching a young boy. He was teaching a young boy. So even if he's 10 years old, the Prophet ﷺ was investing in a young boy. And what was he telling him? He was telling the Prophet ﷺ was telling Anas ibn Malik, ثلاثة من كن فيه وجد حلاوة الإيمان. 3 of you, whoever has these, they will find the beauty of faith. Wait. Does faith have even beauty? Yes. Faith is not a do and don't. Faith and living in faith, in the beginning, there's the struggle. It's like, oh, I'm trying to wear my hijab, but I just feel like it's choking me. It's the same thing when I do ruqya. In the first days, when I'm doing ruqya to that person, they'll be like, they'll be just like, oh my God, I can't handle this. But then little by little, they'll start finding it's getting easier and easier and easier until it releases. What is that? That's a ta'ifun min ash-shaytan. That's basically the shaitan grasping at a person. That's the shaitan having a full grasp of that person. And that's the same thing. It isn't until you grow out of the shaitan grasp that you're feeling another level. You're going up the level. You're gliding in faith. In the beginning, you might trip often, probably if you're rollerblazing or you're riding a bike, learning. In the beginning, you're going to keep on falling, tripping, a lot of bruises. It isn't until you become an expert that you start gliding in it. It becomes something that you can't forget. Swimming, you name me, any sport, and it's the same thing. Any sport. First, you're going to keep on tripping. And then once the person is an expert in it, they're gliding in it. And that's the same thing with the beauty of Iman, to be gliding in that. What does it start? How do I get there? من كان الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما. When Allah Almighty, this is where it starts. When Allah, the love for Allah and His Prophet is actually the highest than any love. The highest than any love. 2, وَمَنْ أَحَبَّ عَبْدًا لَا يُحِبُّهُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ. And when they love any person, now it goes, the first one. Let's do our this one. So right there, they've got the center. Who's the center? It's Allah Almighty. And His Prophet. And then the second love they've got when they love anybody. Why do you like Samia? I love her because she is actually a good, pious woman. Yeah, she's got an attitude, but I love that she's pious. No, I'm not. I know you don't. وَمَن يَكْرَهُ أَن يَعُودَ فِي الْكُفْرِ. Well, not only that, there has to be love and hate at the same time. So what do you hate? They would hate to go into disbelief as much as they would hate to go and be in hellfire. And when they love and hate for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that becomes a different relationship. And they love and hate for the sake of Allah. Of course. Why do you hate X or Y? Why even talk about hate? Because you need to put boundaries, baby. There's no way. You can't love and hate. Sorry, you can't love and at the same time not hate, because if you just love everything, that means you have not molded yourself. That means you've got no boundaries. That means you've got no boundaries. You have to love justice and hate injustice. You gotta love peace and hate what brings anything to dismantle peace. You gotta love kindness and hate anything that leads to oppression. That's the way it goes. But you can't be fluid and be a person that considers everything as basically that relativity. You can't be relative in everything, because the second you're relative in everything, you're contradicting yourself. You love justice and also love injustice. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. Let's go for the other part. So loving, follow the prophets. How do I actually get there? So you follow the Prophet's footsteps, because there's no way that you. So why do I have to follow the Prophet's footsteps in order to actually feel the love? Well, that's the thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهِ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ. If you love Allah Almighty, then follow me, and Allah Almighty will love you. So what does that have to do with anything? Because it's not enough to have the love. You need to know how to get to your lover. What do they want? What should I do? How to get to your lover? There's no way. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually sent the prophets and the messengers to tell you how to get to your lover. So why can't I do it to myself and actually get to the lover my way? Because then you're not getting to your lover, then you're getting to loving yourself. Because the second that you want things your way actually means you're being selfish and you want to love yourself, not love Allah. And that's what happens. Many times people are thinking that, oh, I want to basically do things that way. Yeah, I love Allah, but I want to dress in a certain way. I want to eat in a certain way, and I want to do these things, and I still want to be a good Muslim. It doesn't go like that way, because there's no way that you're going to be loving your pleasures and claiming that you also love Allah Almighty. Why not? Because you're actually speaking it that you're just loving your own whims and desires. When you put your whims and desires on top of everything, your whims and desires will just lead you to what you want. And if you want the right path, you have to many times fight what you want. What? If you want to be successful in school, but you still want to sleep and not study, then you're never going to get to your goal. Why? Because you're letting yourself control you, not the path control you. If you're never going to fight your sleep off, you're never going to wake up to do the right thing. If you're not going to fight yourself to do your fight against fear, you're never going to be courageous. Simple as that. In order to be courageous, you got to fight fear. In order to be a person of morality, you got to fight immorality. In order to be a person of principle, you got to fight lack of principle. There's no way. You got to fight it off. In order to be patient, well, you got to fight the challenge and endure the challenge. Not everything comes easy. If you don't actually face it, and if you don't have that endurance, it's not going to be there. So what do I need to do? When we actually speak about growing in the love of Allah Almighty, there are 4 things that you need to always keep in mind. 4 things. 1, your understanding of what Allah Almighty wants of you. That's justice. You cannot get to justice only by recognizing it. You have to be patient and endure the different challenges that may be surrounding you. What does it mean to have sabr? It actually means that you're going to be sucking in a lot of things you would hate to do. You're going to have to suck it in. You don't feel like doing this, but you got to suck it in and you just got to do it. There are certain things in life that don't just go the way you want it to go. You just got to suck it in. You got to be patient. This is the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed life. 3, courage, or actually iffa, chastity. And what does that mean? Chastity. What do I need? You have a lot of needs, but you have to at least satisfy yourself with the minimum. Because if you don't satisfy with yourself with the minimum of things, then you're going to let yourself go on loose, always wanting more and more and more. And nothing then is enough for you. Nothing then is enough. Dream school. Dream husband when you grow older. Dream house when you grow older. Dream car, dream, etc. And it'll never be enough. Finally, courage. When you love something, when you've got the foundation of it, that is only when you embrace that entirely do you actually get to have the courage and be brave to actually fight off anything that goes against injustice. That's why the Sahaba, they didn't fear anything. They actually, even when they were young, in fact, the youngest ones were actually the bravest ones. The youngest ones were the bravest ones. In fact, most of the Sahaba were actually young, and believe it or not, most of the early Muslims were actually teenagers. Teenagers. The early Muslims were actually teenagers. Yes, let's look at those early Muslims. Jundub ibn Junada, Abu Dharr al-Ghafari was only approximately 15, 16, around that age. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who was the 4th Muslim, was about 13, 14. What's his name? Zubayr ibn al-Awwam was about 13 years old. These are little kids. In our times, those are little kids. Zubayr ibn al-Awwam was about 13. Ali ibn Abi Talib was 9, 10. Those were the early Muslims. The eldest one really was actually considered Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, who was 40. But the rest, the early Muslims, for a couple years, there were only 30, and almost all of them. That's why there's a hadith that is not authentic, but it was widely known. Nusurtu bil-shabab. I was actually given victory by the young leaders, the young youth. So when we're speaking about youth, young shabab, young teenagers, That's just to let us know that in Islam, there's no such thing as a teenager. There's no such thing as a teenager. You know why? Because in Islam, you actually have the highest power, the highest potential. You're actually the one full of energy, full of potential, and you have the highest capacity in your memory, your highest capacity in your education, the highest capacity in creating an environment. Remember these three. Even how you can change the environment. So yes, you also have the highest capacity in learning the wrong things, memorizing the wrong things, and even adapting to the wrong things. You have to choose what environment and how you mold yourself. Girls, you're with me right there? Everything good? Okay, good. Just making sure. All right. You guys get closer to us. I want to get the vibes of teenagers, you guys. I'm going to be 43 in just a couple days. Wish me luck. Are you older than me? I'm still young. How old are you? 34, so about 43 is still young. You actually flipped my age, girl. You're calling me young. That's 10 years difference. Jennifer, how old are you? Right behind me. So what? 42? 42, so I'm 43. Anybody older than me? الحاجة. قديش عمرك يا حاجة? I asked her one time how old she was, and she was like, I was born long time ago. I was like, yeah, I hear you. She doesn't know her birthday, but she just remembers she was born long time ago. All right, let's move on, you guys. So who does Allah love? Number one, those that turn to Allah Almighty. إن الله يحب التوابين ويحب المتطهرين. Allah Almighty says that He loves those that repent to Him and those that are always cleansing themselves. Following the Prophet's path, they will follow the Prophet's path. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهِ. And say, if you love Allah, then follow me and you will, and Allah Almighty will love you. Living in moderation. Why? Inna Allah yuhibbul muqsitin. Allah Almighty says that He loves those that are muqsitin, living in justice and living in moderation. 3, spending for the cause of Allah Almighty. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَنفِقُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And spend for the cause of the Lord Almighty. And do not put yourself into devastation. What does that mean? Well, that had actually more in context of jihad, but we'll talk about that later. وَأَحْسِنُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And be part of those that actually do good and kindness to others, because the Lord Almighty will love them. So in other words, those are the areas that you want to be in where you want to connect yourself with this love. So how do I actually get to some of those things? Wallahu yuhibbu sabirin. The Lord Almighty. Look at this. Why did I actually mention those ayat? I mentioned those ayat because it actually relates to the 4 different categories that we said. 1, the 4 different categories: justice, patience, satisfaction, and courage. And courage. You can't get to those unless, and those are actually considered the foundations of akhlaq. All right. Now, if I would love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what would that actually mean in my life? It will actually get you, وَعَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّي لِتَرْضَى. What will that do? Number 1 is that it will let the person rush. Prophet Musa alayhi salam, he had an appointment with Allah. An appointment with Allah. What was the appointment? That he was supposed to go with Bani Israel at a certain place, and there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, once they get there, that's when he was to be receiving the tablets. So what did he do? He actually rushed as soon as possible to get to the destination because he wanted to meet Allah as soon as possible. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Prophet Musa, why did you go too fast? And he said, وَعَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّي لِتَرْضَى. He said, Lord Almighty, I rushed to you so you will be content over me. So you will be content over me. But look at this one. All right. So what does that actually mean? When I would love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how will that change my life? The Prophet ﷺ actually said, for a Muslim, ما يصيب المسلم من نصب ولا وصب ولا هم ولا حزن ولا أذى ولا غم حتى الشوكة يشاكها إلا كفر الله بها من خطاياه. So what does that mean? For a believer, you guys, what's the highest, let me call it, what's the fastest growing illness in our society right now? Cancer. What else? Mental illness. Which kind of mental illness? Depression and anxiety. Depression and anxiety. You know why? Part of it is really because of this hadith. What does it say? The Prophet ﷺ said, for a Muslim, any nasab, any illness, any harm, any poverty, and any sorrow, and any sadness, or any sadness they might not even know what is causing it, and even a shawka, even if it's a thorn that pricks them, what happens? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove from their sins. So will a Muslim actually go through sadness, sorrow, and all that? They will go through it. So how do they react to it? The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ عَجَبًا لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ. A believer is a strange person even in the way they relate with. A strange person even in the way they relate with the sorrow and with the hardship that surrounds them. Why? Because they look at things differently. For a believer, whenever they would go through any hardship, they know that their place of angle, their angle of vision is totally different. Because for a person of dunya, their angle of vision is that it's pain, pain, pain. But for a believer, they know that it's more gain, gain, gain. Gain of what? Gain in the level of the nearness of Allah Almighty, because they would know that any harm, even if it's a thorn that pricks them, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is raising their rank if they're patient. They will change the place of vision. They will change not only their place of vision, but their place of connecting with the world that surrounds them. Their environment, 3 things. They're educating themselves about Allah. They are learning more about Allah, and the environment they live is actually directing towards one direction, which is their connection with Allah Almighty. How? Because they have learned about Allah. Their memory, they're always doing dhikr. And 3, the environment that starts affecting is the environment that they put themselves in. Now the environment is going to generate in where? عَجَبًا لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ. A believer is a strange one. All their matters, no matter what they go through, is actually always beautiful. Why? Because even during hardship, they're actually إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُ سَرَّاءَ شَكَرَ. When a good thing happens to them, they're thankful. And when a bad thing happens to them, صَبَر فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُ. They'll be patient and it would be better for them. At the end of the day, what is it that they're looking for? Al-Hasan al-Basri says, إِنَّ أَحَبَّاءَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الَّذِينَ وَرِثُوا الْحَيَاةَ الطَّيِّبَةَ وَذَاقُوا نَعِيمَهَا. Why? Because
بما وصلوا إليه من مناجاة حبيبهم وبما وجدوا من حلاوة في قلوبهم. What is that? What is he saying? I want you guys to look at Al-Hasan al-Basri. Al-Hasan al-Basri, his mom was a slave woman. Later was free. Al-Hasan al-Basri, whenever his mom would go work, she had a job and she was working in the field. She would not get a lot of pay, but there's one thing that was very important about Al-Hasan al-Basri. Guess who his nanny was? He had a very important nanny, by the way. His nanny was actually the Prophet ﷺ's wife, Salama. Salama was his nanny. Al-Hasan al-Basri is actually considered the most important figure in learning about tazkiyah. Al-Hasan al-Basri was the most important figure in learning about what is tazkiyah. Tazkiyah is inner purification. It's inner purification. So what does he say? He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's lovers are the ones that actually harvested a good life. Why? Because they tasted the beauty of invoking the Lord Almighty. Instead of invoking people and asking people for help, they know that the power that people express is a mask they manage to put on. You guys listen to this. You might see your friend, she's looking strong, or etc. But that's a mask she managed to put on. That's not necessarily the reality of what she is. Because courage, patience, and satisfaction is not an outer thing only, but it's actually inside. Somebody can be six-pack, muscles, raise 350 pounds, and all these different things, but courage is not about muscle power. Courage is about heart power. Bravery is heart power. That's the same thing. You guys with me here? You will see somebody that is looking like a little squeaky, like a skinny guy and etc., but they're actually full of power, and the power of courage on the inside is more important than the muscles that they carry. And that's the same thing. The beauty, the real beauty is not the image beauty. The real beauty is the beauty on the inside, right? The beauty on the inside. And so many times you would see a woman, her outer appearance is not the greatest, but she would be the sweetest soul. She would be the sweetest soul. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ was always teaching us. Allah Almighty does not look at your outer appearance, but He looks at your heart. Now, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet ﷺ, what do they want to teach us? That whether we're talking about akhlaq, whether we're talking about courage, whether we're talking about beauty, whether that change your direction of vision. And this is what our time today, our society is actually changing that vision. So social media is all about putting filters, fakeness. It's all about putting filters, fillers, adding plastic surgery. And at the end of the day, it becomes a mask. But Islam wants you, no, don't look at the outer appearance, go inside. That's why even the shaitan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the shaitan said, and I will order them, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرْنَ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. And I will order them to change the creation of Allah. Why? Because that was the method that shaitan was saying that he will use in order to change you on the inside.
He has no access but to change you on the outside. He changes your focus. He changes your place of focus. Instead of focusing on the outside, to actually focus, instead of focusing on the inside, to focus on the outside. Are my eyebrows thick enough? Are my lips big enough? Are my, and you fill in the blanks, and the blanks, and the blanks, and it becomes endless. And that's why the younger the generation, you would say more of that attraction to what is usually easier to grasp, the outer appearance. And that's why they tend to be higher. In fact, depression, believe it or not, is actually growing higher and higher by 75% in teenagers than actually in adults. This is what studies are telling you, by 75%. Why? Because it's actually taking them into obstructing their view to living reality. And when they come across reality, it becomes boom. It strikes them on the head and it becomes a painful, painful strike. Even the youngest ones. Now, when we look at what Hassan al-Basri, what did he say? He said they would enjoy the beauty of getting close to the Lord Almighty and calling on to him. And they would find the beauty of what they had found in their hearts. And especially if they would basically remember the Lord Almighty by doing the dhikr. And then the Lord Almighty would actually remove the barrier. And they would be able to get to the maqam. What is maqam? So maqam, they're different levels. For every single level, let me draw this right there. You guys remember these levels? So we said the first level, we're going this in a different order. The first level is the mental one. I understand that Islam is the true religion. Mentally, that's the first level. 2, the second level. I love what Allah Almighty had prescribed on me. You just love it. The third level, you don't just love it. You just adore it, you embrace it, and it becomes who you are. That's al-ihsan. Now, that's why he was actually, you see those 3 things that I just put? Those are different maqamat right there. All right? So I'm going to end right there so we can have more conversations, even though I wanted to do the fear one, but that's all right. We're just going to, he's happy that we're finished? Okay, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala love you. And all right, so I'll end right here before we start on our break, but before that, we're just going to do like a little conversation. All right, Fatuma, افتحي لي الكاهوت. Okay, we're going to do a kahoot. You guys ready?
Yeah, we always.
All right, so kahoot. All right, while she's doing this kahoot stuff, I want you guys to, hold on. Okay, here we go. You do what you need to do. All right, so before we do the kahoot, all right, before we do the kahoot, you guys, we're just gonna hold a little conversation. All right, so some of the questions that I'm gonna ask you, just look at this one and see what they are saying in the chat. Yeah, I will put it, inshallah. Oh, was I muted? No. All right, so if you have any topic, even if it's not within our topic or any question, you can start it right now. Jennifer, what do you say? You have a dress for her? That's so nice of you. That's so nice of you. Yes, ma'am. Raise your voice, Habibti.
So you need what we call that you have the capacity to control.
Say, I can barely hear you.
You have the capacity to control the environment. environment, what you learn, what you know, like how could you, I mean, I'm just trying to think like how if you have someone that's feeling like it's on the wrong path now, like how could you help them see that way? I don't know.
Right. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. When somebody is in the wrong environment, that means you first want to redirect their place of knowledge and their place of what they are constantly getting themselves busy with, because that's creating their environment there. So for example, and it depends on the person. Okay, it depends on the person. So before I basically get this person, you want to mentor them how to change. You want to see what's taking most of their time. You want to bring a chart and say, okay, how much time are you spending on this? How much time are you spending on that? And then you want to see what's the most thing. Then you want to see what's the most thing that's actually causing the biggest problem. So for example, when you look at people that do lots of gaming, their ability to focus reduces by far. All right. So you need to not put everything, and that's why, ladies, this is really important. There's no way that you can change someone entirely. You want to start with one thing at a time. You can't do everything all at once. One thing at a time. So you're going to take, for example, gaming and say, instead of cold turkey, can we reduce it instead of 5 hours, make it into 3 hours? Should we now come back to that person and probably reduce it even more and more and more? Once we get the gaming out, we manage to get the gaming out as an example, then you'll be able to put alternatives. All right, in these 5 hours that we managed to cut down, I want you to attend, for example, a class. It's just, don't put it 5 hours, but put it like 45 minutes. Then can we add another subject later on, bit by bit? Same thing. If let's say the person spends a lot of time Instagram, music, etc., we're going to do the same exact thing. We have to make a chart. And that's the same thing even for you. If you want to change, you can't change. Yes, I love that person. I wish I can be like them. You can't right away change everything all at once. You have to do that mentorship to help them. How do you actually grow? How much time are you spending on this? Can we take this little piece and actually change it with something else later on? You understand what I'm saying? Why? The Prophet ﷺ actually says, "Ma amartukum bihi fa'tu minhu mastata'tum." What I ordered you to do, do as much as I order you to do. But what I ordered you to give up on, what I ordered you to give. What I ordered you to do, do. And what I ordered you to leave, leave instantly. Why? Because when you jump, you don't jump by just somehow thinking that you want to jump. You have to push yourself against gravity. You have to push yourself against gravity. And that's the same thing. What is the gravity? The gravity is your own pleasures, is your own, what makes you restful. All right. And that's the same thing. You have to teach yourself how to get out of your resting mode. And you got to get out of it by pushing against it. There's no way. If you don't push against it, you're going to find yourself absorbed and locked in it. You have to push against it. Go up.
So Fatuma, don't we have the ability to change these masks? Who's they? Oh, so Mariam actually chose that. Okay, Lamar is choosing the brains. Okay. Ahlam. Okay. Muzna. Okay. Sadia, the Skeleton King. Go ahead, Mariam. What do you want to say?
I had a question, if that's okay.
Mariam, you want to say something? Go ahead, my dear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So my question is like, you're saying that at our age, it's like really easy to learn and adapt to stuff. So now that we've learned how to get all these things out of the way, we want to fill our time with good things. What do you think we should prioritize? Should we do, for example, Quran completely and then go to and like then get ourselves with other things, or should there be a balance of specific things, or like what do you recommend?
That's a very, very good question. So that's a very good question. This girl is so smart, mashallah. So remember the part about memory, learning, and then environment. I would say first look at make a log and see what's taking what's taking up in most of your environment. What is the environment that you're putting yourself in first that's affecting you from learning things? Because unlearning is actually the start of unlearning things. So if you're learning the wrong things, for example, and which usually comes from the environment, because what the social media is doing right now is really changing the social currency. It's bringing in a new currency of understanding of what makes justice, what makes important. So right now, for example, you are seeing that people's acceptance, that's early childhood, that we basically see a child, for example, the first thing that they would recognize that this is good is that people's compliment on it. So if, for example, here it is, Ahmed is right there and he held the paper, whatever, plastic, whatever, or held it, we would say, good job. The compliment is something that we know as from our early childhood is a sign that we're doing the right thing. But the social media right now is making and redirecting that in where with the likes and shares, people are starting to understand that the likes and shares are a sign of compliment and that you're doing the right thing. So somebody could be standing on a cliff doing a very stupid move, which could put their life in danger, but it's worth the compliment. So if they're getting the compliment, that social currency is right now just people's compliments, even though the people that are complimenting on that is really nothing and nobody but a stupid person like them. And to unlearn and to recognize that, hey, I need to unlearn that compliment is my first way of understanding that I'm doing the right thing. In other words, don't look at how many likes you're getting. Remember that Prophet ﷺ, remember when we said earlier, the weirdos are basically the ones, and we're not talking about weirdos, those that color their hair pink and all those stuff. We're looking at the people that are actually doing the right thing, the people that are doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to do. Okay, so when we actually say how to start, start by changing your environment. And changing your environment actually means changing your group of friends and changing the environment that you hang out in. And by that, you'll be able to unlearn a lot of the different things that's putting you in a certain focus. That's number one. That will give you more time to actually learn and even have the memory to grow. All right? Yep. So let's start. I hope I answered that one. So that's the start. All right. So we're going to start our, so we got 19. All right. So let's start, you guys. Yep. Let's start. My daughter was the one that put the questions, by the way. Ready? Hold on. We already took some of these things. Can men be clean shaved? What? How did I get to those questions?
No.
My daughter was the one that put these questions. I know. This was supposed to be for the other class.
It's still loading though.
This is supposed to be for the other class. That's okay. خلي. It's okay. خليهم يسووا لنا دوشة.
Your number was.
ميسة من حمزة.
Yes.
It's okay, you guys. Yalla, now is your time. Dyeing your hair is completely forbidden. I think she misspelled that. These are really wanting to cheat right there. ميسة من حمزة are still at the highest. Sadia? Oh man, who's Sadia?
We're 7-1. Okay, women should wear silk. What's that? What's silk?
So they should wear silk?
No.
Okay.
What's silk?
Material. Kind of like what Jennifer's always wearing. Silk is really rare to get. Yeah. So, like real silk is from those, what are those kind of worms called? Bob. Bob?
That was me a long time ago.
Who's Bob?
As in,
Okay.
what is impermissible to wipe with?
What? 7, 6. Sorry. It's you were. It's not the dog, seriously.
خليها مش مشكلة خلوها ضحى خليها مش مشكلة. Oh, Nazneen is doing a great job.
The answer was wrong though.
Not bones and dung.
Why would you want to eat that?
What?
Impermissible.
Impermissible. Is it haram to, what is the word? And gold utensils. Yes, okay. It's haram. انت حطيت الجواب؟ هذا زلمة. When do you do the niyyah of what for wudu? Wudu? You don't know what wudu is? Maybe the night before? Yes, they're in a rush. You tell me. Before starting the actual wudu, right? You do it before the night before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. We're still. What do you need to be able to wipe over your socks during wudu? What do you need? What do you need to do? Okay. What?
Is that a question?
استنى استنى انت سبتي What breaks your wudu?
No, wearing makeup.
Wearing makeup? Fatuma, she actually put the questions, you guys, not
No, not
me.
me. I just want me to say.
So who's the first one? Oh, Fatuma, Allah yahdik. No, Fatuma, that wasn't right. No, that wasn't right. No. Maryam Al-Ani is the second. Good job, Maryam Al-Ani. So she'll be actually considered the first. مين الأول? Who's the first? Yeah, it was too fast. Don't worry. I'll make the
Another game about first week.
okay, let's do the first week.
Anima, I have a question.
Go ahead, my dear.
I wanted to ask about how is it haram to eat from silver and gold utensils?
How is it haram to eat in gold and silver utensils?
Or like
Now-
why it is it?
Right. And why is it haram to eat in gold and silver? So here's the thing. Not everything do we necessarily know why, but we can look into the wisdom of it, like the hikmah behind it. All right. The hikmah in general, the Prophet ﷺ said, فَإِنَّهَا لَهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَلَنَا فِي الْآخِرَةِ. It is for us in the akhirah and for them in dunya. So what is that? Because of the pride, the vibe pride it gives the person when you would eat in gold and silver. But when we say silverware, all right, we're not talking about what is right now known in the US as silverware to mean the spoons and the forks. We're talking about the silver, the actual AG chemical element of it, okay, silver. Or the gold. All right, we're actually talking about gold. So you got to give up on all your golden spoons. Are you sure? And Fadwa, yeah, I'm so sorry about that, but your golden plates and stuff, yeah, you can't. I mean, I know you're good, but we're not talking about golden plates, things that are that look golden. No, we're talking about the actual gold. Okay, I wonder how much it would cost to actually have a gold plate, like a real gold, 24 karat or 23. No, I would say 21 karat, because 24 karat gold plate I think would really bend, but I think a 21 karat would be strong enough to put food in it. But if we're talking about a plate, I'm sure it would cost almost $70,000 or $80,000.
I mean, it depends how thin, how big, how wide.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about, yeah.
That's not even the question I'm asking. I'm like,
So, oh man, all right. What? What? Where? What? Where are the snacks coming from? Tunisia.
Yeah.
Tunisia passes on all the love, my dear.
it's kid snacks. I told it.
All right. Did I answer that question, my dear? So what we'll do, inshallah, we'll actually have a break. What time is it? If anybody has any questions, we'll have a break, inshallah. Right now, we'll give you guys some time to relax and all that, and then we're going to be talking about the fiqh part. So what was that? Yep, we're almost done with it. Today is our last day, inshallah. Oh. So we'll come back, inshallah, at around 1:20, 1:25. All right?
Yes, I was gonna ask you if you plan on, should we get lunch for the kids? Because my family brought, if you plan on doing anything, we can.
Yeah, pizza, inshallah, at 2.
You already got it?
No.
Oh, can we take care of it?
If you want.
Okay,
We've
sure.
got a Godfather's pizza right there.
That's fine.